Out of every season of My 600-Pound Life that TLC has ever filmed, Season 6 is uniquely notable for the worst possible reason. More patients have since passed away than from any other season in the show's history. Some died after their bodies were simply pushed to the limit. Others due to external factors that nobody saw coming. I'm not sure what made this particular season so deadly, but today I'm walking through each patient's story and what actually happened to them in the end. Lee Sutton. Season 6 opened with Lee and his girlfriend Renee, and from the very first episode, their story set a tone nobody expected. They actually met at a bariatric rehab center years before joining Dr. Now's program. The two fell for each other, but the facility didn't allow patients to date, so they left together instead. Once they were on their own, they just kept gaining weight. 11 years later, Lee was over 700 pounds and completely dependent on Renee, who was dealing with weight problems herself.
Forcing myself to start each day is just miserable. Because I've gotten so big, my body feels like I'm in a prison. I'm just trapped.
His time with Dr. Now was rocky. He lost weight and got approved for weight loss surgery. But after the procedure, he struggled to keep the weight off. So when Dr. Now confronted him, Lee got defensive.
I'm done with this conversation. Go to her.
No, we gotta finish with you.
No, we're not finishing with me. You're making me mad.
Yeah,
I'm
sit
leaving.
down right there.
You just let
sit down right over there.
No,
Wait, sit down.
Okay,
let go of me, Renee.
all right, this is completely unacceptable.
That temper didn't stay contained to his sessions with Dr. Now. Renee later revealed Lee had been both verbally and physically abusive toward her. Things got bad enough that Dr. Now stepped in and required him to see a therapist before he'd move forward with treatment. But even with therapy, the relationship never fully recovered. Lee cheated on Renee, if you can believe that, and the relationship eventually fell apart.
It's been around 2.5 months since Renee left me, and since then, she's only taken my call once, and it didn't last long. So she's really upset at me still. So life and everything is still really hard right now.
Lee later remarried, tying the knot with his new wife in October 2024. But on January 29, 2026, Lee passed away at 51. No official cause was given. James L.B. Bonner. L.B.'s food addiction started young, and it followed a pattern a lot of big kids know well. Because of his size, coaches pushed him toward football, and for a while it worked. He was good at it, and the praise made him feel like his weight was actually an asset instead of a problem.
I feel like the only proud times my dad ever had was during football games.
LB was a good player, and when he was a sophomore in high school, he won Offensive Player of the Year, so that's a big achievement for somebody being a sophomore, and I was proud of him.
But that couldn't last for long. Eventually, his weight caught up with him, and he got to a point where he physically couldn't play anymore. Without football, he leaned harder into food and alcohol. Then at 25, everything got worse. LB lost part of his leg in a quad bike accident. And between the missing leg and his weight, day-to-day life became a real struggle. He barely left the house, and his weight quickly climbed to over 600 pounds.
No one understands how hard it is to be over 600 pounds and missing a leg. Those two factors combined make getting around almost impossible. Right now, the prosthetic leg I use is barely able to hold my weight. And every morning I have to fight to put a liner on over my stump.
But LB was motivated to change his life. And once he started the weight loss program, he became one of Dr. Now's easiest success stories. He stuck to the diet without complaint, hit his weight loss goals, and sometimes blew past them. He got approved for surgery, kept the momentum going afterward, and eventually got down to around 250 pounds. A new prosthetic leg made moving around far easier than before. And by the end of his episode, he sounded genuinely hopeful about his future.
A year ago, I was living in my parents' garage, over 600 pounds and hardly ever leaving the couch. But I'm amazed at how much my life has changed for the better.
That positivity became his trademark. It made him one of the most liked patients the show ever had. But underneath all of it, LB was still struggling with mental health issues. On August 2nd, 2018, just hours after posting a cryptic thank you message to his fans about facing his demons, LB took his own life. he was only 30 years old. Heartbreaking stories like LB's are why I keep making these videos, so people can see the whole picture. If you're enjoying my content, please take a quick sec to give this video a hype, subscribe to the channel, and consider joining as a member. Perks include members-only videos and polls where you can influence the topics I cover next. Go ahead and treat yourself. Dr. Now approves. Lisa Fleming. Lisa is one of the most memorable patients in the show's history, and not for good reasons. She was over 700 pounds and completely reliant on her daughter and young grandson just to get through each day. For someone her size and completely bedridden, basic hygiene was already a daily struggle. And unfortunately, we got to see the consequences of that neglect up close.
A month ago, I started feeling sick and my leg was really bothering me. I kept saying, my leg is hurting bad. And when Danielle pulled open the folds of my skin, she found little maggots on there. And I can't believe it got so bad.
Lisa's condition was brutal to watch. When she finally decided to meet Dr. Now, it took 7 paramedics just to get her out of bed and to the hospital. At her first weigh-in, Dr. Now admitted Lisa to the hospital immediately and put her on a controlled diet. She lost weight steadily under full supervision. But the second she got home, almost all of it came right back. So Dr. Now admitted her a second time, hoping the hospital setting would work its magic again. Instead, Lisa found a way to bring her bad habits with her.
All right. Now, who's eating that?
No, I've been eating that.
He was eating them because
How did they end up in your bed then?
He was laying right there because I was crying
I was
this
just eating one of
morning.
those.
Lisa, stop it. This is the junk you've been eating. This is why you're not losing any weight. Herbert is sneaking in junk food for you. And you two keep lying about it.
From there, Lisa barely made any progress. And every time Dr. Now followed up on her, she had a new excuse ready. Eventually, he had no choice but to dismiss Lisa from the program for good. Then in August 2018, barely half a year after her episode aired, Lisa's daughter posted on Facebook that Lisa had passed away after battling previous health struggles. To this day, no official cause of death has ever come out. Robert Buchel. Robert's relationship with food started when he was young.
My parents opened up a fried chicken store. And being around all that available food was definitely something new for me. It's something I'd never experienced before in my life. I was able to have as much soda as I wanted. And my parents were so busy, they really had no idea of what I was eating.
Then when he was 9, he was molested by a neighbor, something that pushed him further into using food to cope. But his breaking point came when he was 19. His older brother died of a heart attack, and the grief sent him spiraling. His weight passed 600 pounds. By the time he reached Dr. Now in early 2017, he was considered one of the heaviest patients ever to appear on My 600-Pound Life.
You're at 842.
I can't be right, Doc.
So your body is no doubt at its limit. And we need to turn that around fast. So you ready for this, Robert?
Absolutely. You're not going to hear no from me. All you're going to hear is, yes, doctor, that's it.
Even at over 800 pounds and in critical condition, Robert was determined to fight for his life. And at first, that determination worked. He lost more than 200 pounds fast enough to qualify for surgery to remove one of his lymphedema masses. And the surgery itself went well. But after the surgery, things fell apart.
Robert has had a tough month. He's been struggling with wanting pain medication since he had surgery. We had Robert on minimal painkillers, and he wasn't happy with the limits we put on him. And once we started to take him completely off, he got so upset that he tore his sutures open just so he could get them again.
But Dr. Now refused to give in. You see, before meeting Dr. Now, Robert was already heavily dependent on painkillers just to get through the day. Dr. Now worked to gradually wean him off as he lost weight. But after surgery, Robert genuinely needed pain medication to recover. But his years of prior use meant that his body had built up a tolerance so severe that the pain meds he got barely worked. So, with no extra pain meds, Robert sank into depression and gave up entirely. Dr. Now eventually moved him out of rehab and into a long-term care facility once it was clear he'd stopped trying. Even with all that, Robert had still lost 340 pounds. But his body had taken too much damage from the years of strain because of his weight. In November 2017, while filming his episode, Robert suffered a heart attack in his sleep and died. He was 41 years old.
Rob's heart was so big that his body couldn't contain it. I used to tell him that all the time. I said, the reason you're a big guy is because you have too much love for everybody. It doesn't fit your heart.
Renee Biran. By her mid-30s, Renee was already over 450 pounds, and a work injury ended up costing her the factory job she'd been holding on to. With no income and a body that made most jobs impossible, she found an unlikely way to survive.
I needed a way to make money, and that's when I discovered the internet. Not only did I find out that there was men out there that like big women, but there was also men out there that love to watch women eat. They're called feeders.
Renee supported her family by becoming a feeding fetish model, but the amount of food she ate soon led to health issues. Her weight ballooned past 600 pounds, bringing breathing problems, diabetes, and chronic pain along with it. Just getting to Dr. Now in Houston nearly killed her.
I just feel like I need a breathing treatment or something to help me get some air in me, that's why.
Okay, instead of coming to clinic, you need to go to St. Joseph Hospital. I will send you the address and you need to go to the ER. I'll let them know that you're coming so they can get you in and find out what's going on.
Luckily, she survived that crisis and was immediately admitted and placed on a controlled diet. But once she was sent home to keep losing weight on her own, progress stalled. She only lost 16 pounds in 4 months. That was nowhere close to what Dr. Now needed to see. Then her body started shutting down.
When she first arrived, many of her organs were close to failure, especially her kidneys and her heart. And we worked to get them healthy again. But she has spent 4 months not complying with her diet, as she's continued to eat unhealthy food.
For Renee, that was rock bottom, and it's what finally got through to her. She lost enough to qualify for surgery, went through the procedure successfully, and dropped to around 380 pounds. By all accounts, Renee had done it. She turned her whole life around. But in early 2019, doctors diagnosed her with Guillain-Barré syndrome. This is a rare disorder where the immune system attacks the body's own nerves, and in the worst cases, leaves people fully paralyzed. She spent the next 2 years fighting it. But in May 2021, Renee passed away at age 56. No official cause was ever confirmed, but almost everyone who followed her story points to Guillain-Barré as the reason. Renee's story is heartbreaking for a specific reason. She beat the weight that was supposed to kill her, and then something unrelated took her away. As it turns out, she's not alone. There are a number of My 600 Pound Life patients who transformed their bodies and still lost their lives to something unrelated to weight. I cover those stories in another video. Click the link on your screen or in the description below to watch that one next.